Monday, January 12th, 2026, Maneco 64, home of alternative economics and contrarian views. Well, I thought gold and silver were going to go up overnight because of the situation in Iran. And they have, but not because of the situation in Iran. And that situation, of course, hasn't improved. And it could still be a trigger for even higher gold and silver prices. But we're making new all-time highs overnight in gold and silver because the Department of Justice has launched a criminal investigation into Jay Powell, the chairman of the Federal Reserve. Yes, I'm not pro-Federal Reserve, of course, but it looks like the Trump administration is trying to take control of the Federal Reserve because they want lower interest rates. Of course, this is due to technically an investigation on the renovation of the Fed's headquarters. But we're going to go through an article here in the FT that's come out about this situation. And yes, I'm very anti-Fed. I'm very anti-central banking. But this is unsettling the markets and the dollar, not surprisingly. Before we go into the topic and look at where gold and silver have gone, I want to recommend a few books about the Federal Reserve, about Andrew Jackson, president in the 1830s. He was involved, of course, with the Second Bank of the United States. He wanted to, slay the monster, and he did. And he had like a bank war against Nicholas Biddle, who was the head of the Second Bank of the United States. And he got rid of the Second Bank of the United States by not renewing the charter. And from 1836 till 1913, the United States didn't have a central bank. So the first book I'm going to recommend is Ron Paul's And the Fed. The second book might not look like it's about ending the Fed, but it talks about who really is in charge of the Fed, in my opinion. It's called Our Crowd. It's the Great Jewish Families of New York by Stephen Birmingham. And Jim Sinclair, whose family is in this book, recommended it. And on page 40, it says here, in the Panic of 1837, Belmont was able to perform a service which he would repeat in subsequent panics, and which helped make him a friend to the bankers and to the United States government. By negotiating large loans from the Rothschilds, he was able to shore up United States debtor banks. In other words, he was able, thanks to the hugeness of the Rothschild reservoir of capital, to start out in America operating his own Federal Reserve System. Yes, by 1910, the bankers were concerned because the crises were getting bigger and bigger. They needed you, the public, to bail them out during times of crises, and that's why they created the Federal Reserve. Mr. Rothschild was probably concerned, right? So that's the second book. Not very easy to find, but I'm sure you can look around. The third one is about the man who started the bank war and won the first bank war, and I'll tell you why I'm calling it the first bank war, and it's Andrew Jackson. It's a biography by H.W. Brands. It's a great book. Old Hickory, of course, was his nickname. And the other one, a classic about the Federal Reserve, The Creature from Jekyll Island. So these are the books I'm going to recommend. If you haven't looked into the Fed, really recommend you buy one of these books. I'm going to put a link here. I have a book recommendation playlist. And talking about bank wars, I have said, and I created a a playlist last year called Second Bank War, and that's what Trump is waging, and the war now has erupted and has intensified against the Federal Reserve. But don't be fooled. Donald Trump is not a sound money president like Andrew Jackson was. Donald Trump wants to control the Fed. He doesn't want to end the Fed so that he can merge the executive and the central bank in one and control interest rates himself. And actually, I don't have a problem with that because the Federal Reserve itself has done a really bad job. Well, not bad job. They've done their job properly for the bankers. They've inflated the currency away. They've performed a massive wealth transfer since they were created to the bankers, to the big corporations. And I think Donald Trump wants to accelerate that, to be honest. And he just wants to be more upfront. And that's why gold and silver have traded up so much overnight. Gold has made a new high at 4,601. The previous high had been 4,550. Silver just breached the all-time high from just after Christmas at 84.50. We've traded as high as 84.62, but it looks very bullish. We're going to come and look at that in a minute, and the markets, and also treasury yields, which are very important. But right now, let's look at the story here. So, U.S. prosecutors launched criminal investigation into Federal Reserve's Jay Powell. Central bank chair says grand jury subpoenas are retaliation for refusal to bow to demand to cut interest rates. To be honest, I'm not surprised this has been done because May right now seems like an eternity from now to May, and that's how long Trump has to wait to get a new Fed chairman appointed because Powell's term ends in May. It says here, U.S. prosecutors have launched a criminal investigation into Jay Powell over a $2.5 billion renovation of the Federal Reserve's headquarters, sharply escalating the Trump administration's confrontation with the central bank. Powell said on Sunday that the Fed on Friday received grand jury subpoenas and a threat of criminal indictment from the Justice Department relating to his testimony before Congress last summer about the renovation. He said the legal action was a pretext to rein in the Fed's independence to set interest rates. Well, I think the free market should set interest rates, not President Trump, not the Secretary of the Treasury, nor 12 members of the board at the Federal Reserve. Anyway, let's continue. It comes as Trump has repeatedly attacked Powell, calling him a stubborn mule for declining to slash borrowing costs. This new threat is not about my testimony last June or about the renovation of the Federal Reserve buildings, Powell said. The threat of criminal charges is a consequence of the Federal Reserve setting interest rates based on our best assessment of what will serve the public, well, what will serve Wall Street, really, to be honest, rather than following the preferences of the president, he added. Well, even the FT is admitting here, gold prices rose to a record high on Monday in Asia. So one time I agree with the FT, right? Gaining as much as 2% to hit 4,600 a troy ounce before falling back to trade around 45.76. Bullion tends to rally when Fed independence is perceived to be under threat. Well, the dollar drops, right? This is bearish for the dollar. It's going to increase dollarization even more, in my opinion. It's the reason why silver as well has made an all-time high. They don't mention silver, of course. They're totally oblivious to the nature of silver, I would say. The mainstream financial press. It's not just a industrial metal, it's a monetary metal. So this is one of the comments here. I'm going to stop right here, but you get the idea of what's going on. It says here, Thom Tillis, a Republican member of the Senate Banking Committee, who has been one of the few in Trump's party to diverge from the president, said on Sunday, and I quote, "If there were any remaining doubt whether advisors within the Trump administration are actively pushing to end the independence of the Federal Reserve, there should now be none." So, as I said, I'm not pro-Fed, so I don't even care about Fed independence, but the markets do, and it's affecting the dollar, the fiat dollar, and that's why gold and silver are making new highs. And to top it all off, there's news here. Trump says U.S. looking at military operations in Iran. That's another very serious situation. I was actually going to talk about Iran this morning, but this Fed news is really very important as well. But relating to Iran, it's a very important strategic, how can I say, place in the world. And the last time there was the Iranian Revolution, that was back in 1979. And I've done a little bit of digging back in history, and I remember that very well. I was in my teens, so I remember the Iranian Revolution and what it did to oil prices. At the time, of course, I didn't follow markets that much, but everyone knew about oil. But more importantly, and I posted this on January 10th here, I said when the Shah of Iran was deposed in January of 1979, gold was trading just above 200, and then went on to top at 887.50, almost exactly a year later. And you had the hostage crisis as well, right? Silver, wait for this, silver was below $7, right? That was in January of 1979, and it went on to top, it topped at $50 a year later. So what I'm trying to say here, you got to be in it to win it. I think a lot of people, let's say, who had been long gold and silver from the early mid 70s to, let's say, 1977, 78, they were discouraged. I mean, gold had reached 200 at the end of 74, and it was still just around the same level by 1979. So what I'm trying to say here, big moves in gold and silver can happen very quickly, and history doesn't repeat itself exactly, but the fact that we've got another crisis on our hands vis-a-vis Iran and that whole Middle Eastern region is very serious. And I don't even think we're going to see like a major top, and then it's going to be 20 years of bear market in gold and silver. I think this is just going to be something that's going to happen now, but all the other fundamentals, the debt, yes, the debt bubble really, and now maybe the Trump administration really being in charge of the Fed and slashing interest rates even more. It could be highly inflationary. Yes, if something happens in Iran and the oil price spikes, they're going to say that's what caused the inflation, but don't be fooled. They fooled me when I was a kid back in the 70s. That's what everyone thought back then. It was because of oil prices. But having grown up and studied, not in university because they don't teach you this, but studied on my own about the 60s and 70s, We all know, hopefully by now, that it was because the U.S. went off gold as an anchor in 1971. That's why we had the inflation. And this could be the trigger here, this attack on the Federal Reserve's independence. And again, I'm not pro-Fed. I'm not judging anyone here. I'm just talking about what's happening so that you can continue to protect the purchasing power of your savings. And that's why I still think as long as you can get some gold and silver right now for dollars or pounds or euros, you should. That's the way I feel. I'm not telling you to do it. It's not financial advice. But if you haven't yet, or if you have yet and you want to continue stacking, have a look at my affiliates below in the description. I've been working quite a few years now with Miles Franklin in the US. There's a link there in the description, a landing page, or you can call them or send an email and tell them that Mario Maneco 64 sent you there. And here in the UK, it's Gold Investments. All the details are below in the description. So Rudy and I are quite early this morning. We have a busy schedule, so I thought I'd get up and do our video. And yes, a lot going on, of course. It's not even 7 a.m. London is 20 to 7. So the European markets haven't really come online, but yeah, Asia is trading. So right now, spot gold is at 4,572. So we are above the all-time high. It's up $62. As I said, the high's been 4,601. The low has been 45.11. Well, what about silver? Well, silver's trading at 84.25, and I mean, I don't have to tell you that there are shortages of silver in many places around the world for retail investors. We're still seeing a lot of silver being taken out of exchanges, physical silver that is. I think I've heard major European bank, i.e. UBS, is heavily short silver, and the prices like in other corners of the world outside US and London are a lot higher. So that's despite what's going on here vis-a-vis the Fed. So right now silver's at 84.30, up over $4. The high's been 84.62. So we've broken the high from December 28th at 84.50. While the stock markets are down, the Dow Jones is down 0.5%. Or 220 points. S&P is down about 40 points, or just over 0.5%. And the NASDAQ 100, well, that's down 220 points, almost 1%. Yeah, and the dollar is a little weaker here. The pound is up about 0.25%. So is the euro. Dollar's unchanged versus the yen. And as I said, this is more about the Federal Reserve and its independence than the situation in the Middle East or Iran. Yeah, because the price of oil is up 12 cents and it's still below 60 WTI at 59.10. The other thing that's very interesting and we need to keep a close eye on, and I suspect things are going to change when Europe comes on board, because it's a busier market than Asia, especially in the bond markets. I expect the treasury market to come maybe under pressure, especially the longer end of the curve, the long-term yields and long-term treasuries. Right now, they're virtually unchanged. Like the 10-year yield is just below 4.20, and the 30 years just below 4.82. Keep an eye on that. I think it could be that we see treasuries come under pressure, not just from the Powell story, the Fed story, but also de-dollarization with what's going on vis-a-vis Iran. I think Iran and I'm going to make a video about Iran, talk a little more in detail. But Iran is more than just about Iran. Iran is trying to scupper the One Belt, One Road, or Belt Road initiative that China is really orchestrating. It's indirect attack on China. And again, I'm not judging. I'm just observing and doing my analysis. But that will be even worse for the dollar, I think, because China and the other global South countries, non-NATO aligned countries, are going to want less and less dollars. And even NATO aligned countries, with what's going on in Greenland, might want less and less dollars. So that's what's going on. And yes, it's been momentous year so far, and I think it's going to continue to be momentous, turbulent, and chaotic. So with that, I'm going to wish you all a very good day. Take care. Bye.